So we're going to go over chapter 6 today. This is our last chapter before the exam, and we're going to learn how you get the energy. So how do you do that work? You need energy to do work. Where you get that energy from? So that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to try going very slow. If you have questions in between about the lecture that we're covering today or a content, please ask. I really like when you guys ask questions and I can answer them right then. But if it's a question about the quiz or anything else, please hold those until the end, because you don't want people skipping the recording because there's unrelated questions that's not about the lecture. So ask questions. I will try going very slow. Please stop me if you need me to repeat something. It's one of the harder chapters. It's a lot of memorization. So I kind of want to try going very slow, and
现在打开那个了。
I want to make sure
Excuse
that you guys
me.
are, yes.
Where can I submit the group homework?
I will go over that at the end today.
Oh, I don't need to submit it.
Yeah, so questions like this, please hold them until the end because I have already started the recording. So I will show you all that at the end today. So I'm gonna get started with this chapter. Again, stop me if you need me to repeat something, I will do that. It's one of the harder chapters. So it might be, if this is your first time seeing this stuff, then it might just go over your head the first time you see it. Okay, so we learned about photosynthesis in last chapter. Plants do photosynthesis. This is my second time saying this. Plants can do photosynthesis, but they can also do cellular respiration. A lot of people think that they can only do photosynthesis, but please make a note. There will be a question on this. Plants can do both photosynthesis and cellular respiration. So basically respiration. The word comes from respire. Respire means breathing in and breathing out. So you breathe in oxygen, you breathe out carbon dioxide. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at the cellular level. What is that oxygen doing in your body? That oxygen at the cellular level goes in the mitochondria and it produces energy basically. There's some chemical processes that take place and the end result is ATP. ATP is energy currency, we learned. So basically plants can do both. They can do photosynthesis and cellular respiration. And last time I said, if you have some, maybe, I don't know, plants, maybe cyanobacteria or something like that, that does photosynthesis, and you put it in a jar and then you seal the lid completely. Because it can do both, it's going to do photosynthesis and it's going to produce oxygen as a byproduct. Then it can take that oxygen byproduct and it can use it in cellular respiration to do basically to produce energy. When it does the cellular respiration, it's going to produce CO2, and then it can take the CO2 and it can use it for photosynthesis. So plants, they can live for really 20 plus years if even if they don't get any oxygen from outside, as long as they get sunlight and as long as it doesn't get too hot inside the jar. Maybe it's not, you're not leaving it in the really hot temperature, so they can live for a really long time. So what this tells us, that plants don't need us, or we breathe out carbon dioxide. They don't need us for carbon dioxide. They can produce this as a byproduct. And then animals or us, we do need plants because we breathe in oxygen. So plants don't need us, but we do need plants. So all plants and animals and bacteria, they use food such as glucose. And I told you guys you have to know the glucose formula, and oxygen to produce ATP. So this oxygen can go in and can start breaking down some bonds and produce ATP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. Tri means three, it has three phosphates. It's an energy carrier molecule. It's not energy itself, it's an energy carrier molecule. So once the bond breaks, it's going to release energy. Okay, so next thing, if I ask you on the exam, so these are 3 steps for the aerobic respiration: glycolysis, Krebs cycle, electron transport system or electron transport chain. Maybe you heard about it before. I usually call it electron transport chain. So if I ask you on the exam, what are the 3 steps of aerobic respiration? You're going to say glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and electron transport chain. Anybody knows what aerobic means? What does aerobic mean?
With oxygen.
With oxygen. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. So aerobic means with oxygen. And then if you take AN and then put it in front of aerobic, that means without oxygen. So anytime you take these 2 letters and put it in front of something, it means without. So anaerobic means without oxygen. Aerobic means with oxygen. So again, I said I will ask you on the exam, what are 3 steps of aerobic respiration? We will also go over anaerobic at the end, but 3 steps of aerobic respiration are glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and electron transport chain. Now, anybody knows where glycolysis takes place in the cell? No? What does glycolysis mean? Glycolysis, basically. What is glyco? Anybody know?
It means breaking sugar.
Breaking sugar. So glyco is sugar and lysis to break down. So breakdown of sugar. So you break down sugar and you get energy, glycolysis. This glycolysis, it happens inside the cytoplasm. So the location I will ask you on the exam, the location for glycolysis is cytoplasm. Takes place in the cytoplasm. And then Krebs cycle, this structure right here, this bean-shaped structure is mitochondria. It happens in the mitochondria. So I'm gonna say mitochondria, and inside the mitochondria, there's something called matrix. I'm gonna show you that in a minute. That's where it takes place, inside the matrix in mitochondria. So that's Krebs cycle there. And then we have electron transport chain. That's also happening inside the mitochondria. So I'm gonna say mitochondria. But it happens in the inner membrane. And I will show you where that is as well, or what that is. So that happens in inner membrane. So that's the location for these 3 steps or 3 processes. You have glycolysis, breakdown of sugar, happens in the cytoplasm. This does not require oxygen. So it does not require oxygen. It can happen without oxygen. But these steps require oxygen. So this is part of aerobic respiration. Krebs cycle happens in the matrix of mitochondria. That's this inner space here. And then electron transport chain happens in the inner membrane. And again, I'll show you better pictures of these. This is the formula that is for cellular respiration. If you basically, this is opposite of photosynthesis. This is the formula for glucose. You have C6, H12, and O6. To break it down, you need oxygen. So you have oxygen there. What it produces, carbon dioxide as a waste product. You breathe that out. Also some water. So your body produces some water too when it does the aerobic respiration. And then 36 ATP. Some of the textbooks might say 34, 32, or 38. Number changes depending on how you're calculating it, basically. And they're still doing a lot of research on it. So, there's still a lot that they don't know. So they're still doing a lot of research on it. So we're going to go in detail. So this was just a summary slide. There are 3 steps of aerobic respiration: glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and electron transport chain. Okay, so you breathe in oxygen. You breathe in oxygen. This is a false color. This is not the color of your mitochondria. The oxygen goes in your mitochondria, and you ate some bread. That's your glucose, or you ate some sugar. And then it's going to basically do a chemical reaction with this glucose. It's going to break it down, and it's going to produce carbon dioxide as a waste product, some water, and then ATP, that's the energy. It's going to produce energy. This energy is going to go in the muscle cell, and then you're going to use it to do work. So for muscle movement, if you're in the gym lifting weights, you need energy for that, and that's where the energy is coming from cellular respiration. So inhaled oxygen is consumed in cellular respiration. Carbon dioxide is produced as a byproduct, and then you exhale it out. That's exhaled. The cell uses the ATP formed during cellular respiration to do work, such as muscle contraction. And they will go over in anatomy when they cover sliding filament theory, how that works. So I'm not going to go into that. This is just intro bio. Actually, I wanted to ask if you guys heard about rigor mortis. Have you guys heard about rigor mortis?
Yes.
So what is it, Scott?
Well, it's basically the it's your cells and everything. It's death. It's
So your body gets stiff, right? After
yes.
you die. So that's what it's referring to. So your muscle fibers, they slide back and forth when they move. And to do that, it needs energy. It doesn't only need energy to basically move the muscle, it also needs energy to relax those muscles. When a person dies, there's no more ATP, so the muscles don't relax and the person is stiff. And that's what's referring to rigor mortis. So, you know, when a CIA person comes in, if there's been death or something, and then if they see the body stiff, then they're gonna try to determine the time of death based on you know, the stiffness. So it's gonna stay stiff after, you know, some time, and then if a lot of time has passed, maybe 12 hours, the body starts to decompose and it's not stiff anymore. So that's how they determine the time of death. There's also something called death rattle. Have you guys heard about death rattle? No? So, you know, if someone works at morgue, it's very common for them to find basically dead bodies making noise. So that's basically when there's gases inside your stomach and those leave, they touch the vocal cords and they make some gurgling noises, and that's death rattle. Don't Google that. You don't want to Google that. But that's also something you know, that's kind of scary. And so if death rattle is happening, and then sometimes there's this random firing of electrons or in the muscles basically, and then it's sometimes the body sits up, and that's because the random firing, if this person died very recently, like a few minutes ago or something. So body can make noise and move. Chris said that in the chat too. So that's very scary if you work at a morgue and, you know, it's midnight or something. But anyways, that's not related. I just wanted to mention rigor mortis, and that's because you need ATP to contract the muscles, and you also need ATP to relax the muscles. So it's needed for both. So do plants carry out cellular respiration?